Long ago, in a land surrounded by tall trees, sparkling rivers, and animals of all kinds, there lived a young woman named Akinda. Akinda had a heart as pure as the first rain of the season and was loved by every creature in the forest. The birds sang when she walked by, and the animals followed her wherever she went. The trees bent their branches low to give her fruit, and the rivers whispered stories to her as they flowed by. But things weren't always so peaceful. Across the hills there was a powerful king named King Adawal. His kingdom was rich with gold, but his heart was full of greed. He wanted to rule over not only his land but also the forest Akinda called home. One day King Adawal sent his army to the forest to take it for himself. His men marched with sharp swords and burning torches, ready to destroy anything that stood in their way. When Akinda saw the soldiers approaching, she knew she had to protect her home. She spread her arms wide and the forest answered her call. Vines sprang from the ground and wrapped around the soldiers' feet. Birds swooped down, pecking at their helmets, while mighty trees blocked their path. The soldiers were no match for Akinda and the forest's magic, and they ran back to the king in fear. When King Adewale heard what had happened, he grew furious. "No one defies me," he roared. He sent a message to Akinda, pretending to want peace. "Come to my palace," and the message said. "Let us join hands and rule together." Akinda believed the king's words and thought peace would finally come. She went to the palace, dressed in a gown made of leaves and flowers, her heart open and trusting. But the moment she stepped inside, the king's men trapped her in iron chains. Iron was the only thing that could weaken her magic. "You are too powerful," the king sneered, "and I cannot allow you to stand in my way." Akinda struggled, but the chains were too strong. In that moment, her heart broke into 1,000 pieces. She had trusted the king, and he had betrayed her. The warmth in her heart turned to cold, hard stone. "You will regret this," Akinda whispered, her voice low with anger. "One day, you will suffer just as I have." Years passed, and King Adewal had a son named Prince Olu. When Olu grew older, he became king, just like his father. But unlike his father, Olu was kind and gentle. He married a beautiful queen, and soon they had a baby girl. They named her Ebele, which means mercy, because they believed she would grow up to bring peace to the kingdom. The whole kingdom celebrated the birth of Princess Ebele. Drummers played, people danced in the streets, and everyone brought gifts to the palace. But deep in the forest, Akinda heard the news. Her heart, still cold with anger, burned with jealousy. "They live happily while I suffer," she whispered to herself. "Number, I will not allow it." That night, Akinda sneaked into the palace. She moved like a shadow, silent and unseen. She stood over the baby princess's crib, her face dark with sadness and rage. Then, with a wave of her hand, she cast a powerful curse. "When you turn 16, little one, you will prick your finger on a thorn, and you will fall into a deep sleep," Akinda whispered, "and only something greater than magic can wake you." Before the guards could catch her, Akinda vanished into the night, leaving behind only the cold wind that followed her. When King Olu and Queen Adana discovered the curse, they were terrified. They called the best healers and the wisest elders in the land, but no one could break the curse. The only advice the elders could give was to keep all sharp things away from the princess and to watch her closely. The king ordered all thorns to be removed from the kingdom. Every needle, every sharp object was taken away. He even built a high wall around the palace to keep Princess Ebele safe. But the curse was powerful, and no matter what the king did, it could not be stopped. As the years passed, Princess Ebele grew into a kind and curious girl. She loved to explore the palace gardens and listen to stories from the old servants. But she always felt like something was missing. "Why can't I ever leave the palace?" she asked her parents one day. "It's for your own safety, my dear," Queen Adana replied. "There are many dangers outside the palace walls." "But I want to see the forest," Ebele said. "I want to meet new people and learn about the world." Her parents shook their heads firmly. "When you are older," the king promised, "but for now you must stay here, where it's safe." Ebele tried to be patient, but as her 16th birthday drew closer, her curiosity grew stronger. She began to sneak around the palace, looking for hidden doors and secret passages. One day she found a narrow stairway that led to an old tower. The tower had been locked for many years and no one ever went there. With a racing heart, Eboli climbed the stairs, her footsteps echoing in the silence. At the top of the tower, she found a dusty old room. In the middle of the room stood a strange, twisted plant covered in thick, sharp thorns. Eboli stared at the plant, her heart pounding with excitement and fear. She knew she shouldn't touch it, but something inside her felt drawn to it, as if it were calling her name. Carefully, she reached out her hand. At the very moment Eboli's finger was about to touch a thorn, a voice rang out behind her. "Stop!" Eboli whirled around to see an old woman standing in the doorway. Her hair was wild and her eyes shone with a strange light. It was Akinda, though Eboli did not know who she was. "Who are you?" Eboli asked, her voice trembling. "I am someone who has been waiting for you," Akinda said with a smile that was both kind and sad. "And I have a story to tell you." Eboli lowered her hand, curiosity filling her heart. "What kind of story?" "A story about curses, betrayals, and second chances," Akinda replied. And so sitting in the old tower, Akinda began to tell the story of her life, how she had once been kind and loving, how she had fought to protect the forest, and how her heart had been broken by the king's betrayal. As Eboli listened, tears filled her eyes. "But why would you curse me?" she asked. "What did I ever do to you?" Akinda's smile faded. "It wasn't about you, child," she whispered. "It was about my pain and my need for revenge. But now looking at you, I see that I made a terrible mistake." Eboli's heart ached for the woman before her. "Is there no way to undo the curse?" she asked. Akinda shook her head slowly. "The curse cannot be undone, but perhaps there is still hope." Eboli sat quietly, her mind whirling with emotions. The woman sitting before her wasn't the terrifying sorceress she had imagined. Akinda seemed like someone who had suffered deeply. A strange feeling grew in Eboli's heart, pity mixed with curiosity. Could there really be a way to change her fate? "Hope?" Eboli whispered. "What kind of hope is there if the curse can't be undone?" Akinda gave a slow, thoughtful nod. "The magic I used was strong, but it was born from anger. Anger doesn't last forever. It can fade, especially if it is replaced with something stronger, like love or forgiveness." "Love?" Eboli asked, confused. "What do you mean?" "The curse can only be broken by something more powerful than magic," Akinda explained. "It will take something rare, something as pure and true as your name, mercy. You must show kindness to someone, even if they don't deserve it. Only then will the curse lose its hold on you." Eboli frowned. "But who do I need to show kindness to?" Akinda gave her a sad smile. "That is for you to discover, child. But beware, your 16th birthday is near. The thorn still waits. Time is running out." Eboli's heart pounded in her chest. Could she really stop the curse? And how was she supposed to figure out who deserved her forgiveness? The days passed quickly, and soon it was the night before Eboli's 16th birthday. The whole palace was on edge. King Olu and Queen Adana had ordered extra guards to watch over Eboli at all times. Every door was locked, every window barred. No one was allowed near the princess without the king's permission. Eboli sat in her room, staring at the stars through the tiny window. She couldn't sleep. The weight of the curse felt heavier with each passing moment. "What if I can't stop it?" she whispered to herself. "What if it's too late?" As midnight approached, a strange wind blew through the room, making the candles flicker. Eboli wrapped her arms around herself. The tower and the thorn plant haunted her thoughts, and she couldn't stop thinking about Akinda's words. Only kindness can defeat the curse. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. "Who is it?" Eboli called, her voice trembling. "It's me, Eboli," whispered a familiar voice. It was her father, King Olu. "Let me in." Eboli hurried to open the door. "What are you doing here, Papa? The guards said you wouldn't leave your chambers tonight." Olu looked nervous as he stepped inside, glancing down the hallway to make sure no one saw him. "I couldn't sleep. I need to talk to you." He sat on the edge of her bed, running his hand through his beard. "There's something I never told you about Akinda," he said softly. Eboli's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?"